All right, welcome to the Low Stick Podcast. This is our first episode. I am Jason Retz,
And I'm Eric Dettman.
and welcome. We're going to hopefully educate a little bit along the way, learn as we go, all kinds of different stuff. But we're going to start out kind of learning who we are a little bit.
Yeah. So, Jason, you've obviously had a lot of success within your program. Tell us a little bit about who you are, where you've come from, all that good stuff.
So I'm Coach Jason Retz at St. Joseph Ogden High School. I'm about 10 minutes east of the University of Illinois, which is in Champaign. So we are flat as a pancake in the middle of the country. We're both Illinois boys here, but we are a small school, about 460 people. We've had a little bit of success along the way, but I think one of our claims to fame in this program has been our distance success that we've had throughout the years. We've had some great coaches that have been here, including my previous coach. I'm a graduate of St. Joseph Ogden, Coach Jim Acklin, and we've seen a little bit of success with a couple of trophies along the way. It's been fun.
Awesome. And I think one of the cool things, and one of the first times I heard about your program was in Jay Johnson's book, Consistency is Key. Can you talk a little bit about that? Obviously, Jay holds you in high regard because of what you guys have done. What was that like? What did those conversations look like? Why did he choose your program?
Well, Jay is a fantastic guy at educating not only coaches, but also athletes with his camps and his clinics that he's done. And I've taken my athletes to his clinics, and we just kind of got to know each other. And the more we talked, the more we found that we did a lot of things similar. And I think that a lot of coaches who find some success have a lot of similarities in the things they do. And so he liked the things that we were doing at a small school. We may be a small school, but I don't treat our kids like small school kids, right? We want to be the best regardless of what the class is. So I think that he saw that and liked some of the things we did. And it's been great having our program mentioned, helping people along the way. That's kind of led me to helping other coaches along the way, and which is one of the reasons why we're trying to do this better platform to kind of give back to the things that we've learned along the way.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, it's awesome. It's been cool to watch your journey and get to know you, especially over the last couple of years, and bounce ideas back and forth. It's been one of the highlights of my coaching career.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll be able to highlight that here. And speaking of which, another Illinois boy, twin two from the Long Green Line, probably I would argue the most decorated high school program in the nation in the last 70 years, right? Who are you, Eric Dettman?
Yeah, Eric Dettman went to York High School, ran for the famous Mr. Joe Newton and Mr. Charlie Kern. After I completed my time at York, I earned a scholarship to run for the University of Oregon. And then from the University of Oregon, I started my coaching career over at Lincoln. So kind of shortly after I graduated, I moved to Portland. Lincoln is a city school. So we're the only school actually located in the city, the downtown portion of Portland, Oregon. So started there. I've been with the program for 10 years. I've been a head coach for track and field. This will be my 6th year. This past fall will be my 3rd. So it's been a really exciting time. We've found some success. We've won 8 state trophies in the last 10 years, which has been cool. But one of the things that I really like about what we've done is the continued growth of our program in terms of numbers. When I first started, the track and field program was X amount of kids and probably 120, 130, and this year we've got 225 signed up. And that makes me really happy that it's a program that people want to be around. So that's what I'm super excited about.
And I will say that one of the reasons why we've kind of connected the way we've connected is because we've seen each other at places across the country or through Zoom calls, trying to learn this sport back and forth. And as we got through into this thing, we found we had a lot of similarities in the things that we do. And the Illinois connection helps, but I don't think it's everything there. And one of the purposes for this thing, I think, comes from that within itself, is our willingness to learn and continue to inspire student athletes.
Yeah. And I think, we we're so lucky and so fortunate that we've known each other and and have met this great collection of coaches that we feel comfortable to reach out and have these conversations and to learn. But I think what our end goal for this podcast is to inspire others to do the same thing, and maybe take something that they've heard from this podcast or learn from this podcast and mull it over and that makes sense, or I don't know if I agree with that, and then go talk to somebody else and continue, that knowledge, or gain of knowledge that I think is so important in what I think is health of sports. So I'm just hopeful that people can take something from this, learn from it, and pass that on to others that they know.
Yeah, if we can facilitate a conversation where you're learning and maybe you can reach out to somebody that we've learned from as well, hopefully that will be a huge positive in student athletes' lives and coaches' lives along the way.
Yeah.
Now, we know that we both are a little wild and on our thinking sometimes, and I think that maybe helps us a little bit. But one of the things that I really like about your program is your willingness to make adaptations and changes into workouts, and to listen to somebody give a clinic and say, that is not the exact piece to me, but here's how I mold my piece.
Right.
I think that's what kind of draws us together as we think outside the box to do this thing. And hopefully some of those ideas will shine through, and heck, I'll learn along the way, along with you.
Yeah. And I think a really cool thing about the two of us is our honesty with ourselves, right? Like both of us acknowledge and recognize we're not science people. We're not, we don't have this type of background where we can talk about, the science behind this or the science behind that. We have enough of that knowledge to be dangerous, but at no point are we going to claim, that that's who we are. So it's more of communicating with others, finding out what we know, what we like, what we don't like. And in some ways, it's more of the art of coaching and figuring out what works specifically with our kids to help them be successful. And I think that's what's really great for all coaches is you don't have to have that piece to be terribly successful. As long as you're willing to learn, ask questions, and be vulnerable. I think all of us have the opportunity to be really successful. And I'm hopeful that, through this podcast, we can figure that out.
Absolutely. And we got a variety of topics that we want to talk about with you along the way, not only just the coaching side of it, but potentially some of the crazy stuff that's happening within our sport, and helping people kind of be a student of the sport. Cam Levin's run 200 miles a week, setting the North American national record. I don't know if you saw all of those results, but the top 5 there within 30 seconds of each other at the end of a marathon, absolutely crazy in Tokyo this morning. The 10K last night.
Yeah.
Geez.
It's funny, speaking specifically about Cam Levins. I saw a tweet this morning about he was last at the NCAA indoor mile, and it was talking about this message board and how he would never make it. He's last in this mile, running all these miles. He's never going to make it. And he's the only guy on that list who's still finding success, which is kind of cool and maybe an interesting topic to dive into at some point. But you see stuff like that, and it's inspiring to continue to push and continue to figure out what you're capable of.
I'll say that as I started to educate myself, he's just at the age where I was a huge Cam Levins fan when he was in college, and watching him and as he turned pro, maybe because he's Canadian and I thought he was friendly. I don't know. It could be the case there.
Yeah, absolutely. So why us, Jason? We talked a little bit about, not necessarily being the wholehearted science guy, but why would people want to listen to us? What do we bring to the table?
I think one of the huge differences between us and potentially some other podcasts is we're not going to sit here and interview each other. We're going to think and learn as we go through these things, and be very organic and back and forth. And I think one of the things that our sport is missing is short, to the point podcast. And our hope and our goal here is to get this thing in 30 minutes. So you could listen to it on your prep period or your commute to work, and hopefully have some ideas maybe to use that day or in a day or two along the way, and not have to go back and re-listen to a podcast so you forgot what you listened to the first half before you need to listen to the second.
Yeah, spot on. I think that's a big reason why, and hopefully to challenge your line of thinking and I think what's great about us is the mutual respect and the idea that I don't always agree with everything you're saying. You don't always agree with everything I'm saying. And I think that that's going to be a bit of a refresher rather than yeah, that's so good. Yeah, I really like that. There's going to certainly be a lot of that, but I think there's going to be some disagreement as well, which I think could be really helpful for all of our listeners.
I also think that people can connect things together in a positive way, that we're from a small school and you're from a big school, and we can adjust things and make it work. Too often at clinics, I would hear, well, they got 2,000 kids in their building, we can't do something like that. That sometimes just isn't true. And so hopefully we can connect those pieces and help you think outside the box and learn and connect those things together.
Yeah, I love that. Taking the oh, that'll never work for us, to how can we mold that into our program? Because we can certainly maybe can't take the components of running on dirt roads every day because we're in the middle of a city, but there's things from that, or the idea of that we can certainly take, that we can find success within our program. So being a little bit more open-minded to anything, I think, is really great. And those two experiences are going to make that even better.
So hopefully we'd like to get this thing out to you about once a month, and share a 30-minute podcast or so with you, so you can take the ideas and run with it. We've got all kinds of things lined up, and our first one we're going to hit on our next episode is we're going to talk about some threshold training, and that is a wild topic in distance running. So we hopefully can kind of define it a little bit and talk about how you can work with threshold training and go from there.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's probably my favorite thing that we do at Lincoln High School. I think it's super duper valuable. There's a lot of conversation around it right now in terms of double thresholds and how do you run thresholds and progressive thresholds and things like that. So I'm excited to get your perspective, talk a little bit about it, see maybe where we come together, where we're a little bit different, and express it all to our audience.
I'm going to have to go on Amazon and be able to get my lactate meter so I can check it for the next episode. But it should be a blast, and we look forward to everybody tune in and look forward to talking to you in about a month.
Yeah, looking forward to talking to everybody.
All right. Well, this is our first episode of Low Stick Podcast. You can follow us, hopefully, and share it and learn something along the way. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you.